Ethan Harper never believed in technology having a mind of its own, and Clara James thought new gadgets were just tools until the iPhone 17 Pro Max arrived at their doorstep. By the first night, their skepticism turned to terror as the phone began watching, learning, and recording in ways that no human should ever witness. Every notification, every photo, every vibration felt like a warning. And by dawn, they realized the device wasn't theirs. It belonged to something else. I bought the new iPhone 17 Pro Max the day it came out. Everyone online kept saying it was the smartest phone ever made, with a camera that could see more than human eyes, sensors that could detect your mood, and an AI system that adjusted itself to your habits. It sounded like science fiction, but I wanted to see what the future felt like. The box itself had a strange coldness to it, like it had been sitting in a freezer. When I peeled off the wrapping and held the device for the first time, it vibrated faintly before I even pressed the power button, as though it recognized me. When it finally turned on, it skipped the usual setup questions. No Wi-Fi prompt, no language selection, no Apple ID. The screen simply displayed my full name, and then the home screen appeared, already organized in a way I would have done it. My favorite wallpaper was there, one I had used on my previous phone. It was impossible. I hadn't connected my old device yet. At first, I laughed it off as some kind of new AI sync feature Apple must have introduced. I even felt proud to own it. But that night, as I lay in bed, the phone began to behave differently. The screen glowed faintly from the desk across the room. I thought maybe a notification had arrived, but when I looked, there was nothing. No messages, no alerts, just the blank home screen pulsing softly like it was breathing. I turned it face down and returned to bed. A few minutes later, I heard a faint vibration, then another in slow rhythm, like a heartbeat. I tried to ignore it. Maybe it was just updating in the background. But the light persisted, leaking through the thin gap between the phone and the desk. I picked it up again and noticed something odd on the screen. A new app icon I didn't recognize. It had no label, just a black square with a white dot in the middle. When I tapped it, the screen flashed white for half a second and then went dark. The phone restarted on its own, booting up slower this time. I felt a weird shiver crawl up my spine. I didn't even know why. I had owned dozens of phones before, but none of them had ever made me feel watched. I decided to leave it on the table and try to sleep, but I kept glancing toward it, waiting for something to happen. At around 2 a.m., I opened my eyes again without knowing why. The room was dark, except for that faint, cold light. The phone lay exactly where I had placed it, face down. But I noticed something I couldn't explain. The reflection of the light on the wall was shifting slowly, like the phone was moving on its own, inch by inch across the desk. I froze completely, too afraid to touch it. By the time the light faded, the phone had stopped moving. When I gathered the courage to look again in the morning, it was sitting right at the edge of the table, 2 inches closer than before. The next morning, I tried convincing myself it had to be my imagination. Maybe I had placed it near the edge and gravity had done the rest. Still, something about the way the phone seemed to hum faintly when I held it made my skin prickle. I turned it over, expecting to see fingerprints or smudges, but the glass was spotless, as if it had been freshly cleaned. When I unlocked it, the home screen looked the same, except for one new photo in the gallery. I hadn't taken any pictures, yet there it was, a dark, grainy shot of my bedroom ceiling. I dismissed it as a glitch from the camera app and deleted it. 10 minutes later, it reappeared. This time, there were 2 of them. I deleted them again, emptied the trash, and watched the folder blink out of existence. But when I refreshed the gallery, there were now 5 identical photos. I felt my chest tighten as if the phone was mocking me. I decided to reset the camera settings and cleared all permissions. But that night, when I got into bed, I saw the front camera light flash for just a fraction of a second. I froze, staring at the darkened screen that seemed to stare back. My heart thudded in my ears. I put the phone face down again, but sleep didn't come easily. Every creak of the house sounded like movement near my desk. At one point, I thought I saw a faint reflection on the wall, a flicker of white that shouldn't to have been there. I finally fell asleep close to dawn. When I woke up, my phone was in my hand. I had no memory of reaching for it during the night. The camera app was open and a new video was saved. My hands shook as I tapped play. The footage showed me sleeping, filmed from across the room. The frame was steady like it was placed on a tripod. I could see myself breathing slowly under the blanket. And then, in the farthest corner of the room, a blur shifted in the darkness. The pixels struggled to focus, but for half a second I saw the faint shape of something standing there, tall, motionless, watching. I paused the video, rewound, played it again, but each time it was the same. When I checked the timestamp, it said 3:17 a.m., exactly the time I remembered waking up briefly for no reason. I wanted to tell myself it was just an app glitch or some weird AI test feature, but deep down I knew it wasn't. I tried to delete the video, but it wouldn't let me. The trash icon turned gray and unresponsive. I shut off the phone completely and set it aside. The screen went black, but a few seconds later it lit up on its own. The camera opened again and pointed straight at me. I didn't move. The front lens shimmered faintly, like an eye adjusting to light. And then, very slowly, the phone started recording by itself. I didn't remember falling asleep, but I woke up to the sound of faint static. The phone was lying next to me on the pillow, screen glowing softly, showing a live camera feed of my face. My heart jolted in my chest. I must have turned it off last night, yet it was on, streaming my image with perfect stillness. My reflection blinked slowly on the display, but what chilled me most was the delay. The me on screen blinked 1 second after I did, as if the phone wasn't mirroring me but watching from somewhere else. I threw it off the bed and it landed face down with a dull thud. The light went out, and for a few seconds, the room fell into heavy silence. Then the vibration started again, rhythmic and pulsing from inside the blanket. I forced myself to grab it, but the screen remained black. The back, however, felt strangely warm, like something living was trapped inside. I decided enough was enough. I backed up my files and tried to factory reset it, but the phone refused. The loading circle froze at 20% before flashing an unfamiliar message across the display. System protected. Reset denied. I tried again, this time through my laptop, but the device wasn't even recognized. It was as if it had detached itself from everything I owned. When I tried turning it off completely, it powered itself back on before I could even press the button. That was the moment I felt genuine fear. I wrapped it in a thick towel, shoved it into my dresser drawer, and covered it with clothes. I needed distance. I left the room, turned on the TV, and tried to drown out the buzzing in my head. Hours passed, or maybe it was less, but the sound returned faintly, a muffled vibration from the drawer. Then came a notification tone, sharp and unmistakable. I didn't go near it, not then. But by nightfall, curiosity got the better of me. I opened the drawer slowly, expecting darkness, but a cold glow spilled through the folds of fabric. When I pulled the phone out, the screen was unlocked. The wallpaper had changed. It wasn't my old photo anymore. It was an image of my room taken from a high angle, almost like from the ceiling corner. Everything looked normal except for one thing. There was a shape near my door, half visible, pale and thin, leaning as if caught mid-step. I tried to tell myself it was just a shadow, maybe from the curtains. I switched on every light, checked the hallway, the closet, even under the bed, but there was nothing there. When I turned back to the phone, the wallpaper changed again. The figure was closer to the camera this time, its face still obscured but unmistakably human in outline. I dropped the device, but before it hit the floor, it buzzed once more, and the flashlight turned on, shining directly at the door. The next morning, I left the phone on the table and went outside. I needed to breathe, to feel sunlight and distance. I told myself I was overreacting, that exhaustion was making me see patterns where none existed. But even as I walked through the crowded streets, my hand kept twitching toward my pocket, expecting the faint weight of the device. It was like a phantom limb. Its absence felt wrong. By the time I got home, the air in my apartment felt stale, heavy with stillness. I hadn't realized until that moment how much silence could sound alive. The phone sat exactly where I had left it, screen dark, but I could sense that faint vibration again, a slow, steady rhythm like breathing beneath the glass. When I touched it, the screen lit up instantly, unlocking on its own. A new note was open in the Notes app. The text was already written, though there was no sign of typing history, no timestamp. It said only one thing: I learned your breathing. My pulse quickened as I stared at the words. I tried deleting the note, but the delete option wouldn't appear. Instead, another line appeared on its own below the first. And your heartbeat. The phone vibrated once, harder this time, and the health app opened automatically. It displayed a perfect graph of my heart rate through the entire night, accurate to the second. Somehow it had recorded me, even though it hadn't been near my body. Every peak and valley lined up perfectly with my memories of half-sleep. Those moments I woke, gasping, the nightmares I couldn't fully remember. I turned off the app, but it launched again by itself, this time showing a new metric labeled Interruptions. One entry stood out, time-stamped at 3:41 a.m., reading, Respiratory pause detected, duration 19 seconds. My skin crawled. I hadn't used any smartwatch or external sensor. The phone shouldn't have been able to record that. I switched it to airplane mode, powered it off, and put it face down on the counter. For an hour, it stayed silent. Then the lights flickered. The phone turned back on by itself, glowing through the dim kitchen. It opened the camera without my touch, but instead of showing my reflection, it displayed the darkened hallway behind me. My own heart stuttered when I noticed movement in the live feed. Something small and pale shifting in the frame, just out of focus. I turned quickly, but the hallway was empty. The phone vibrated again, and I glanced back at the screen. The figure was gone, replaced now by a still image. The camera had automatically taken a photo and saved it in a new album titled Monitoring. I opened it and saw the same photo repeated 3 times. My own back was in each image, but in the last one, just over my shoulder, a faint white hand was reaching toward me from the darkness. I decided it was time to destroy the phone. I grabbed a hammer from the drawer, shaking with anticipation and fear. The moment my hand made contact, the screen spiderwebbed with cracks, glass splintering under the force. I expected the light to die, the device to go dark, but it didn't. Instead, the fractured screen lit up brighter than ever, jagged lines of static racing across the glass like veins of electricity. Words began forming slowly through the cracks. You shouldn't have done that. My stomach churned. The air around me seemed heavier, colder, as if the room itself had been watching. The hammer slipped from my hands as the phone vibrated violently. Despite the shattered screen, the camera app opened on its own, facing me. I tried to look away, but my eyes were drawn to the display, and there it was, my own face, pale, wide-eyed, trembling. And behind me, barely visible at first, a tall, thin figure lingered in the doorway, its head tilted unnaturally low. I spun around, heart hammering, but the room was empty. When I turned back, the phone screen changed again. A new gallery had been created automatically. The album title read in perfect white letters, First Owner. 5 empty slots glowed ominously beneath it, waiting to be filled. I backed away slowly, feeling the floor beneath my feet grow impossibly cold, as though the phone had drawn the warmth from the room. The shattered display flickered, and the figure on the screen now appeared closer, its long fingers almost brushing the edge of the frame. I could swear I heard the faint scrape of nails against wood behind me. I grabbed the device in a last desperate attempt to end it, intending to throw it into the street, but the moment I touched it, it vibrated with unnatural strength. The screen changed one final time. My bedroom, my living room, every familiar corner appeared on it, but all of them were empty. And then slowly a shadow grew across every room, stretching like ink over water. I could see them now, not just the figure, but dozens of dark shapes, all moving silently, all turning their attention toward me. I realized with a terror that clawed at my throat that the phone had never just been a phone. It was a window, a trap, a beacon. And now it had summoned something. I tried to smash it again, harder this time, but the hammer bounced off as if hitting stone. The display glowed one last time and froze on an image of me, my face wide with horror, my eyes reflecting countless dark shapes behind me. The final text appeared on the screen, slow and deliberate. "Next owner?" I ran from the apartment, leaving the phone on the table, shattered and alive. I don't know if it was recording me, tracking me, or waiting for me to come back. All I know is that every time I close my eyes, I see the empty slots in that album. 5 spaces, waiting. And somewhere in the shadows, I can feel it, watching, learning, waiting for the next person to touch it. I don't know what happens if someone does, but I can hear faint buzzing in my mind, and sometimes, just sometimes, I swear I see a glow from beneath the floorboards where I slept. The phone is still alive, and it is hungry.